Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm MD Gaming, and today we're going to talk about the Tier 6 Atlanta. Now I'm going to go a little more in depth with this one, guys, because it's a pretty versatile ship. If you prefer this way of explanation, please let me know, and I'll try to make my videos from this way forward, and then I'm just going to include timestamps so you guys kind of know where everything's at. So let's go look at the upgrades first on this ship. And there's two arguments that can be made on this. Some people would choose aiming systems mod 1 for that main battery dispersion and torpedo launcher's traverse speed. I honestly, in my opinion, I don't think this is a beneficial mod for the Atlanta, and that's because the Atlanta has a reload speed of about 5 seconds, and so if I'm firing tons of rounds down range, the accuracy is not going to be there, guys. There's also that huge lob for everything, so even sometimes having more spaced out is going to be a little beneficial because maybe more rounds will hit. So that's why I went with anti-air guns mod 2. So anti-air guns mod 2 is going to increase my anti-air by 20%. This means that planes, when they come towards me, if I'm hiding behind an island, I'll be able to start doing damage to them before they can see me a little bit better. And this prevents them and prevents them from just loitering around me at a closer distance, and I can basically eliminate them quicker, right? Because ultimately the name of the game is going to be trying to conceal myself as much as possible and being able to fire behind islands. And if planes are spotting me, it just gives the enemy an opportunity to just be able to shoot back at me, and I don't want that to happen. So my opinion, anti-air guns mod 2 is the way to go for the first slot. The second slot, again, 1 and 2 steering geared mod 2. This is geared more towards the players who like to kite and everything. But honestly, propulsion mod 2 is my preference, and the reason why I believe that this one is better, because if I'm trying to island hide and shoot over those islands, I want to be able to peek a little bit out of the front, and if I exceed a little too far, be able to move my ship in reverse quick enough to not be shot. And propulsion mod 2 is not 50% from 0 to full speed. It's like from 0 to like half your speed is really where that 50% maneuverability comes from. So just know, if you're going forward or reverse, it's only going to be within the 50 like half speed range of where you're going to see that 50% increase in acceleration, and that's all you need if you're making minute changes behind islands to find better locations to fire. The last one, again, you can make a case for all three. The steering gear mod 3, again, we're talking pertaining to the kiting Atlanta. And just, I'm not good at kiting with the Atlanta. The rounds just lob too far in the air, and I need to watch and adjust to have them like hone in on the target. If I am like kiting while trying to shoot it, my rounds are just all over the place. It's not as effective. So I choose the concealment mod 2. Again, lowers my detectability range, which is going to play a huge, massive part in a specific build we'll talk about. And then incoming fire dispersion is also going to be crucial, because if rounds are coming towards me and they're a little wonky, they have a higher chance of hitting those islands and a less chance of hitting me. So it keeps me alive a little bit longer. Everyone has target acquisition systems. It's always a viable option due to that range of guaranteed acquisition of SIPs plus 50%. So instead of shooting them at 2 or seeing them at 2 kilometers, you can see them at 3 kilometers. But the Atlanta has sonar and radar, so I don't really see this as a viable option for a ship that has so many abilities to detect in smoke. Moving down to, say, the consumables. So first, going over the ammunition, as you can see, reload time 4.8 seconds, fire setting chance 4%. That's also due to my commander's ability. And then range is about 13.3. Armor piercing, we have 2,100 damage on these ones. Really, you're going to be shooting these at the superstructures of battleships when they're giving you a clear broadside. But I would honestly recommend HE for like 95% of gameplay. And then these are the sleepers on the Atlanta. Most underutilized ammunition type, and that's torpedoes, because they have that crappy torpedo range of 4.5 kilometers, but they do 16,000 damage per torpedo. So if you're island hiding and some battleship or cruisers trying to get around those islands, you have that ability to try to do a lot of damage while they're trying to get around there. So don't sleep on these guys. They're essential. Next, we have the sonar, a detection range of 4.2 kilometers. And then we have the radar, which has a detection of 8.5 kilometers. But look at that. The consumable duration is 25 seconds. I know you guys might think that's a little short, but if the reload time for the Atlanta is 4.8 and we got 25 seconds, that's 5 salvos that we can get on that radar. So if we're super close to the enemy destroyers and we pop that radar, we're going to have 5 salvos that we're going to be able to destroy the destroyer. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to show that type of commander build. I don't have it, but if that's the route you want to go to be a DD destroyer, the Atlanta is probably one of the top tier destroyer cruisers out there if you're in the right spot, guys. So it's a viable option. Next, we're going to talk about the armor. So as you can see right here, this thing is as thin as can be, with basically 4.6 to 14 millimeter armor thickness. Literally, the definition is very thin armor that large caliber shells may overpenetrate. So what does that mean? So literally in the definition, it says, hey, it's going to overpenetrate if you have it and you shoot it. So what you guys should be doing with this ship is, if you're close to battleships, go broadside. If you go broadside, yes, there's a high advantage that you'll get citadeled, but everything's going to overmatch this ship just because of how thin the armor is. If you try to bow into anything, it's just pretty much just going to ricochet. So going broadside to battleships is going to be crucial. Angling to cruisers, perfectly fine. Again, some will probably beat it out, but ultimately battleships, you want to go broadside at a close distance. Everything is going to overpen. It's going to allow you to get those torpedoes in. And if you guys look, right, so those guns on the ship is almost a little bit bigger than half the size of the ship. So not only is the armor super thin, but this ship is super skinny, which again, if AP rounds do hit your ship and they do arm, they might just overpen also because they have no time to actually get that fuse timer to the explosion. So going broadside with an Atlanta to a close range battleship is going to open up your ability to use your 4 torpedoes, and then also increase your chances of surviving because they're going to overpen. If you bow in or do any type of angle with a longer distance for that round of travel inside of that ship from bow to stern, and that's where you're going to run into the major penetration damage and citadel damage. So I would try to avoid that as much as possible. Now going back into here, we're going to go to specs for a second. So concealment, detectability by sea, 10.3 kilometers. That's what my build is right now. You guys can upgrade that. So, but I just want to put this in your mind, 10.3 kilometers range by sea. And then for the loadout, we have 8.5 kilometers for a detection range. So basically less than 2 kilometers difference between the detectability of your ship and then the ability to use radar. Now let me show you a commander that's inside the store right now that you guys can get if you're interested, and it's actually going to be able to increase it even more. And this build actually increases my apologies, the role of this Atlanta being a destroyer killer, and that is Shelly Beapley. She's in the store right now, guys, and if you look at her, she has one amazing trait, and that is going to be, so first off, you can increase your chance for HE causing fire, right? Maneuverability, you'll find out how many enemies are going to attack you for dispersion. But here we go right here, private zone. Increases your cruiser detectability up to 8%. That drops you down, I think, I've read some things that drops you into the 9s, like 9.3. And also that it shows you the direction of the closest enemy, just like twist and track. So you will always have your guns ready and aimed at where the destroyers are who spots you while you're heading that direction, going faster than they are, and then you can hit their radar. You can hit your radar system, and you'll be able to spot them, get 5 salvos off on that type of destroyer. And honestly, if the destroyer thinks they're going to be safe, they're going to hit up their smoke. You follow into that smoke, hide yourself, use their smoke for say a minute, 2 minutes, destroying the other battleships, and then on to the next destroyer. So it's an amazing destroyer hunter if that's how you want to play it. It's a super effective build. I've seen a lot of people talk about it. I don't have Beapley, and as a free-to-play player, I'm just not going to spend money on it. But there is the option to always spending money to get Beapley. Yes, I have 9,000 doubloons, but those are for the campaigns that I've saved up for. Now going on to the normal builds that I actually have for myself, and we're going to talk about Norman Scott because he's my main man. And in the commander profile, directed impact, again, we're talking about accuracy. I know we build it into the accuracy build for this type of thing, but honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. The rounds are a little spaced out. You probably have a higher chance of hitting. I just use Norman Scott for everything because he's just my top tier commander. Membelli, 5% reload booster is pretty good for the reload time. It lowers it down a little bit. But again, like since Norman Scott is my main 2 guy, I could probably switch this off to do more damage or something and still not feel like the effects of that 5% reduction because it's pretty minor. But ultimately, because I have so many different types of cruisers that I play with Norman Scott, I'm not paying that 21,000 commander XP to change every single time. So Membelli just stays. But there are probably other ones that you guys could do for him and be just if not more effective. Now I got Roe. Roe is fantastic. Again, HE shell damage is at 3.25% increase. So I'm doing all those rounds downrange, doing damage, but now I'm doing them at a higher damage. And again, the reload rate is so high that this is actually going to be very beneficial. Next one, right? So you got Burn It Down XXL. You could always choose this one if you wanted to go to an HE build. I prefer beyond range. Yes, the rounds are going to fly longer in the sky. But the thing is if a battleship is trying to bow in to say another battleship, it stops and they just move straight back. It's very easy to mitigate that loft time to those. If they're moving from left to right, it's very difficult. It's very easy to dodge high lofting shells. But if they're facing right into you, you can do a lot of damage at further ranges. Igniter, chains of HE. Of course, I always want fires to start. It's just damage over time, which is great. Armed and ready. I want to be able for the enemy incoming fire to just, again, be more dispersed so I don't have to deal with it as much. But the main one for this one is the warning indicator of enemies looking at me. This allows me to continually fire at, say, enemies in open water without trying to make any type of course corrections, because I'll know when an enemy is shooting. And when I know an enemy is going to like aim at me, then I know I have to start maneuvering. So it just allows me to focus more on shooting. Next one, fixated. Shell grouping and dispersion. You could honestly choose this one or steer clear. Steer clear, of course, is going to make you more maneuverable and allow your repairs to work better. But honestly, either or is fine. I just chose this one again because I'm not going to go into Norman Scott every single game and swap out. I'm just not that type of player, guys. And then here we go. So this is another big one for you guys to decide. So you can either choose the refill station, which is going to increase your reload time by 10%. And also keep your HE damage intact. The issue is that the Atlanta has a very small millimeter type of round, and so a lot of them, even if they hit the superstructure, will break, and then you're not doing any damage, not starting any fires, not anything. So this one for right now, these are for the people who like fires. So if you want to start fires, you're going to choose refill station for Norman Scott because you have a higher chance of starting fires with this type of round. For those who care about doing more damage with each round, this is what you're going to choose, Equilibrium of Power. That 30% HE pen is going to do a lot better against enemy battleship superstructures. You'll still get some fires, but not a lot. But it's that small little damage over time that's going to be very effective. There are very big side effects, though. 50% reduction in fire, and then also 10% of shell damage being down. But as you guys will see, even in the video with Equilibrium Power on, I will still do a ton of damage to destroyers with no big deal. But those are really your 3 options, in my opinion. You can either do Norman Scott and either do Refill Station or Equilibrium Power, or if you have Shelly Beapley, or if you like the DD Destroyer method, you can buy Shelly Beapley and then you can then use her ability. But that's all up to you guys. But now let's jump into the game and let's talk about how to play the Tier 6 Atlanta. Alright, so here we guys, we're on the ice map right now. It's not a bad map. The issue about these maps right now, there is a lot of cover for the Atlanta to use. It's just there's tall islands. So you got to pick and choose what islands that you want. So the island in front of me, I can see how tall it is. I don't want that island. I'm looking over there at that right island. I'm looking at my mini-map, seeing how far it is. It's close to the sea cap. It's low to the ground. It's going to be a better island for me to go for. So as an Atlanta player, it's very important to survey what islands that you want to use and then map out where you're going to move from point A to point B to point C to point D. Kind of plan your progression forward while defending the cap that's on your side. This map right now, like, I could hide behind that tall island right there, and you can. The issue is the taller that the mountain is, the further distance that you need to be away from that mountain in order to get those angled shots. And the further you are away, the easier it is for other ships around you, the red team, to spot you, and then it allows a lot of crossfire. So looking for shorter islands is going to allow you to get closer up, which is going to be able to prevent you from being shot out more. Another thing, as an Atlanta, you're not going to be the primary spotter in this type of build. So you're going to hope for either the battleship or the destroyer pushing a little bit forward and just being that spotter for you so you can shoot over these islands and create a lot of damage with, again, equilibrium of power. So we're just doing penetration damage. Now, you're going to have to make a choice whether to be risky or to stay conservative. I kind of saw my destroyer and battleship on this side kind of slow down, so I believe that it would be better in my position to move up to sea cap. That's not always the best case scenario, but I've thought if there's 3 destroyers on the enemy team, one has to be at sea cap, and if I'm in sea cap, I can definitely do a lot of damage with either my radar spotting or my sonar, so that's why I push forward. Always be patient as an Atlanta player. So my detection is 10.3. I'm not going to shoot this individual until I'm at 10.3. This allows the 3 or 4 battleships on the seaside to try to get a depth strike on the Miyoko without him doing any type of maneuvers before getting hit by me. And then, lo and behold, no one saw the Gneisenau. And this is just what happens when you're playing the ship, guys. When you fire your rounds, you're going to get slain pretty quickly. But again, that spotted let me know how many enemies were actually targeting me. Lets me know, is it important for me to maneuver away, or is it important for me to actually, turn into him to avoid being shot. So I only got one person spotted. You can see his guns are actually turned away from me, so I know I'm not the main target anymore. So I can really focus on trying to kind of get away from him while doing damage. I'm back up to a spotted of 3. And this is something you guys got to pay attention to, of where you're spotted, and that way you can kite and maneuver a little bit better to avoid being shot, because you're able to see when you're spotted and when you're not. And the ultimate goal while playing this Atlanta is, again, get behind cover. I took the risk to get out in the open to capture C, but now I don't want to stay in here because I'm continually spotted. But I'm going to keep on trying to shoot at, say, the main targets. Miyoko is now far on this side. Luckily, I have my destroyer who's going the far side of the sea, so he'll be able to spot the Myoko. And then I'm just going to get in position, hiding behind this iceberg and trying to shoot the Myoko as best as I can. Do a lot of damage to him as he's trying to move forward. And again, moving in a way that avoids, again, getting hit by his torpedoes, shooting over that island iceberg as much as possible. Again, island hiding is what's going to be very crucial while playing the Atlanta. You can see he used a couple AP shells on me. I took a lot of damage, again, because of that weak armor. But now I'm hidden, and the Jarvis and the battleship on my side is really protecting me. And I have that propulsion, so now I'm able to go a little bit slower. And now I'm just going to start farming for damage on this Massachusetts. And I think this plays a very good role in showing you that you don't have to fire every single gun all the time. The key thing about the Atlanta is to stay hidden. So although I'm only shooting him with my first 3 guns, I know I'm not spotted. I know I'm not going to take any damage. So this constant barrage of basically HE penetration damage is going to do a lot of damage over time. You're going to see how much damage I end up with against Massachusetts. Again, with that propulsion mod, I'm going to use that 1/4 forward, and then I'm going to be in a position. I'm back to being unspotted, and now I have all my rounds basically hitting the Massachusetts. And Again, if the Massachusetts were to spot me, or if I were to become spotted by the Massachusetts, I would be able to use that propulsion mod to go into full reverse and go back into hidden, and then only have to hit them with my 3 turrets in the front. So that's the thing about the propulsion mod. It allows you to move a little bit forward, a little bit back to find that best position, and then if you get into a little hairy situation, you can pull yourself out real quick. Again, amazing lobbing ability of this Atlanta, just doing consistent penetration damage to each ship. Again, we're not doing massive amount of damage, but with the reload of 4.8 seconds, the damage over time is very effective. And there should be noted also, you can see how close I am to the island, like right in front of me. That's because I get spotted by when enemies can see my superstructure. So the more I can keep myself hidden, or the superstructure hidden, and I can fire with, say, 3 guns or 4 guns, the better off I'm going to be ultimately. And then I'm just, again, I'm not shooting every single round. I'm just there to make little pot shots here and there to do damage over time and hopefully start a couple fires. Again, you can see I have 160 penetrations and about 50,000 damage. We're not going for high damage games. This is a very good ship that does a really good job at area denial. And now, because the Mayoko is trying to run away, I can just lob these shots over without being seen. I'm just going to stay in my spot. The issue that you'll notice, though, as an island hider in any type of ship, is that it is just very difficult to gauge an enemy who's going to kite. So the Atlanta does a lot better against battleships than it does against cruisers at long distances, because battleships are harder to turn, especially if they're bow into you. You can rain all day on a battleship that's bow into you, and then they'll cause them either to reverse or push forward into terrible situations. But a cruiser, it's harder to do that because they're just more maneuverable. So at further distances, if you have the option to choose against a cruiser or a battleship, for the Atlanta, you're going to choose a battleship 9 times out of 10. But situational awareness is number 1 while playing this ship. The Atlanta excels at patient play, and then I'll show what the next moves are going to be. So if you look at this map right now, we have every single battleship we have at sea. We have the 1 destroyer that was on our side, still on our side. And we have the Yodachi, who's at B cap, now pushing to C cap. So we are overloaded on the C side, with A being captured. Yes, we're over 400, almost 400 points up, but no one wants to lose a cap, because you can still lose on points. We're only 7 minutes into it. If they were to capture A and B and the destroyers were going to get kills, it would definitely make this map lopsided in their favor. And not just Atlanta, but any type of player, if you see this, you should recognize it. Don't go chasing the enemies in the top right corner, because ultimately you're going to put yourself out of play and allow yourself the ability to get torpedoed, because now we have multiple destroyers being able to see you in open water. But noticing that they have taken A cap, we have C cap and overlied on C, I'm going to try and contest B. Now, I can't go one-on-one with this battleship right here. I know I'll lose. And as any type of player, you need to know when you can pick your battles and when you can't. I know I overpower destroyers, so that's where I reign supreme as the Atlanta. But I know I suck one-on-one against battleships at far distances. So what am I going to do in order to protect B? And what you guys should do to protect B? Just hide behind this island. That's all you need to do. You don't need to try to capture. You don't need to try to kill. Again, one of the main objectives of playing this game is to prevent the enemy from taking capture points. That's how you win. We're up by 500 points, so 2 capture points, or 1 capture point for us, 1 capture point for them, makes us even. There's no way they're gaining. So they're going to have to try to push further into C to figure out why B is contested. And because I know that battleship is going to be a lot slower, the first ships I'm going to meet are going to be those destroyers. And I overpower destroyers, especially with a sonar, especially with radar. And now I have my 2 destroyers on the left and the right side of me, or north and south of B, who will be able to spot each destroyer first and allow myself the ability to shoot them. So this is the best position to be in as the Atlanta. I'm positioned in a way that I'll be able to shoot either to the south or the north with a little bit of that propulsion mod, moving a little bit quicker, and then move myself now into a position to probably start trying to hit damage on this battleship while staying hidden. But again, guys, the Atlanta is a ship where you play very patiently. I saw that destroyer. I'm going to try to move into him, but now there's another destroyer right in front of me, the Venom. And so I'm just going to try to get some rounds off, hopefully try to kill him, and boom, one destroyer dead. That other destroyer smoked up, but the issue is he's in B cap, and I'm in a pretty good position in the B cap. So with the radar ability, I'm able to spot him. And this is where the destroyer hunting of the Atlanta, you'll see kind of shine. Again, this is my second shot. This is in 10 seconds. I've done probably about 1/3 of damage, and then if all rounds connect, there you go. I did 1/4 of a damage, and in 20 seconds, a destroyer is completely destroyed either by teammate help with me using my radar, or if I didn't have equilibrium power and I had, say, refill station, I'd be able to do a lot more damage against him. And now it's just a one-on-one match with me in this battleship, since I'm the only one out in the open. So this is, again, now where we're talking about kiting, and we're talking about maneuverability and how to avoid being shot while doing damage. The Atlanta is very good at maneuverability already, but if you're trying to continually do more maneuverability, that's a complete option. Again, make sure you're changing up your throttle from full speed to full stop. They're going to try to shoot over you. Changing up your speed, changing up your angles is going to do a lot for, again, saving your Atlanta for the long time being while playing the game. Now I want to try to keep this battleship spotted as much as I can, so all the battleships behind me are going to have the ability to shoot. And the great thing about the Atlanta is when you do HE spam on these ships, a lot of players kind of forget their bearing, and so he's just sailing broadside to all these other battleships. That's just making him an easy target. Sadly though, he got behind cover and our team wasn't able to finish him off. Our destroyer is doing a good job trying to capture A, and I'm thinking maybe I should try to further my distance away in order to prevent actually being killed again, but he just did a full turn, and now he's actually being seen again, and again is going to allow all 4 of our battleships to do just immense damage on this battleship while I'm able to keep on trying to get these fires, or just penetration damage, because again, equilibrium power. I have 80,000 damage, 5 fires, whereas if I was in a fire game, you could probably argue that I'd probably have 13 or 14 fires, but there's no guarantee of how much damage that could be done. I mean, I can't speculate that. But guys, the game ended. I think this did a great job of showing how effective it is against destroyers, how effective islands are, and how effective kiting is. So you got to see all 3 different ones in one. Of course, there's the damage of equilibrium power and refill station. It's kind of hard to compare on one game individually, but I was able to do 82,000 damage, kill 2 different ships. They were both the destroyers. One was very low on health, the other one was half damage, but I was able to keep B safe. I was able to capture C, and I was able to hide behind islands and do a lot of damage, and that allowed me to go in first place with 2,390 XP, guys. So as you can see with this ship, there's multiple options that you can play, but one of the main things about the Atlanta, and I can't stress enough, is that patience while playing the ship. As a DD destroyer, you still should be hiding behind islands. Use that twist and track to just wait till they spot you, and then use your radar to kill them. Don't go searching for them in open water, because every battleship is going to shoot you. You're the Omaha of Tier 6. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you found my information helpful. But ultimately, please leave me comments. It knows what I'm doing good, what I need to do better. And with that, guys, MD Gaming out.